We are back. We are live. Thank you, Justin. You guys can unmute your mics. We're set. Joining us is TabMock99, and most importantly, Josh. Thank you for joining us, Josh. All the way from Chicago, right? Or
yes, Chicago.
Good. Yeah, home for me. Home for me too. We're actually out of this small little barcade called High Scores, and it's in Fostoria, Ohio, about 10 minutes just south of my hometown of Tiffin. And what a discovery to see all this. There's first time I've actually ever seen an NBA Hang Time arcade machine, and then they've got a MAME machine over here with all the Mortal Kombat games and Tekken 3 and so much good stuff. They even have a drink here called the Molina.
I had it. It was really good.
Yeah, we're going to have to check that out. And this is Nerdy Hobbit, who's joining me on location as well. So pretty awesome.
You're going to have to take a picture of the menu. Tweet that out. You want to see the Molina.
Yes, I will have to definitely get a picture of the Molina. I don't know if the bartender, if that's like a secret thing for her. You might have to ask her.
What, about the drink?
About the drink, the Molina.
I think you can take it. I don't think she... Like, if we were to take a picture of the drink, would you be okay with that? The Molina?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, she's going to give us the details here.
Yeah.
We'll put it on Twitter for sure. Josh, thank you again for joining us, man. And I know TabMock has a bunch of questions for you. We got you for just a couple minutes here, about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, just a shorter broadcast. But good to have you, man. You're hard at work with Insert Coin. Is there any news that you can share with people about that yet, or are you still keeping some of that under wraps?
Fantastic postcard you got there, Justin. Yeah, no, I mean, it's progressing really well. I would say, man, you know, depending on what mood I'm in, it's either like 80% done or 85, maybe 90% done. But really, it's that last 10% of like polish and just kind of solidifying everything. That it's kind of like game development. That's what ends up taking the longest.
Yeah.
And so the bones are there. The meat, for the most part, is there. Just really just kind of getting it all into a nice, tidy, enjoyable package, and that's what I'm currently at right now. A couple of things have popped up here and there that made me expand the interviews a little bit more than what I was originally expecting. But it's, you know, with documentary filmmaking, you kind of have to let it grow as you go along. You know, you kind of have a plan on what the story's going to be, but then you never know what else happens. And that's what kind of happened with this. It was just like, wow, there was these stories that I knew about, but then there were these other things that happened that I didn't know about. And so I had to kind of change, kind of move along with it, you know.
Yeah, so you like interview somebody, they'll tell you something really cool, and you're like, wait a minute, I got to know more about this, and we got to put it in there, right?
Exactly. So that was kind of crazy, but like, I think one of the most funnest thing about this project, besides kind of reliving these old days, was just finding out the backstory of things that I thought I knew about and didn't realize there's all this other stuff going on that led up to it, and then stuff happened after it. So it's been a huge sense of discovery for myself also.
Right on, man. Yeah, it's awesome. Your documentary is great. Combat King said he's hoping for a 3-hour documentary. I'm hoping for
I'm telling you, and I think I mentioned this before with you guys, was that, you know, there's going to be a version that is just kind of like the version that is for everybody, but somewhere, you know, in the back of my head, I mean, and I've kept all these old edits. Like, you know, at a certain point, I had like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour edit and stuff. Yeah. And not that it's going to be the most polished thing, but it's like, it's one of those things where eventually that's going to come out. Yeah. It might not be as polished as the 2-hour version, but it's, you know, that's for like the super fans that want to just know, you know, as much as possible. So I'm hoping to do something like that eventually, but I just got to get this done first. I also see Combat Kings from Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. I didn't know that.
That's right.
Yeah, he was telling me that he went to your parents' restaurant out there or something.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, Peking Palace. So my family's restaurant shows up in NBA Jam Tournament Edition in the background.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, so like, you know, 20-something years later, people are still wondering, like, why is this Chinese restaurant in NBA Jam? And it's because I was like, I asked Mark, you know, I was working with Mark Turmel at the time on WrestleMania, and they were making Tournament Edition kind of at the same time. And I just asked, like, hey, can I put my family's restaurant? And they was like, yeah, sure, no problems with it. And I was like, all right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so for free, I got to fit in my family's restaurant in like one of the biggest video games of all time. That was pretty cool.
And I believe you also snuck it into the credits in Mortal Kombat Mythologies.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's,
nice.
they were the catering company. We had no catering company, but we, much like a lot of other things in Midway, we just like to throw things in there just for fun, and then people end up thinking more of it than was really there.
Right. So that brings us, that's a good segue into our next question, because you already mentioned NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Before the interview, I loaded up your profile on Moby Games.
Okay.
So Moby Games is like IMDb, but for video games.
Yeah.
And I think your profile is pretty incomplete. I think you've done way more than what you're being given credit for here. They've got you on WWF Wrestlemania, Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero, Mortal Kombat 4, Tao Fang, Fight Night Round 3, NHL Open Ice 2-on-2 Challenge, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Shred and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, and Big League Sports. And that's it. Those are just 9 games. And I know you've done way more, because we know you were in Mortal Kombat 2 as the face of Sub-Zero for his ending. We know you were we know you did NBA Jam Tournament Edition. So that's like 11 games at least now. What other games can you tell us about?
So Tournament Edition, I actually did not work on it. They just happened to put me in the and other developers in the game. I might have done 1 or 2 like small things, but I was on Tournament Edition and WrestleMania were going on at the same time, so I was really more on WrestleMania. Did they have MK4 in there?
Yes, they do.
I wasn't there. The only, there was a bunch of mobile games that we did with Robomoto. There was an unreleased Marvel game that I'd done at EA. There might be a handful of other things. There's one, I think I mentioned this before, there was the original version of Mortal Kombat Special Forces that was never released. And so that,
That's a shame.
Yeah, and so it's funny, it's like at Combat Con, Doc had put on my picture that I'd worked on Special Forces, and I asked, I was like, dude, can you take that off? Because I really like the version that came out. I'd never worked on it at all. I mean, you'd be shocked how different the original was compared to what was released. So that was that was another one.
Yeah, that's right. So you worked on the unreleased MK Special Forces, so you had nothing to do with the final product.
Yeah.
How close was that? How close was Special Forces to being complete? The one that you worked on.
I'm trying to remember. Like, it was behind. So we were far behind schedule on that thing. I want to say that it was probably 60-70% there.
Oh wow!
I mean, there was a lot of it was a huge game. It was a ridiculously big game for such a small team. And back then, there was no other team in the Chicago office that was doing an original home game. So it was the same team that did Mythologies Sub-Zero, and so we added a few more people to do the Special Forces game, and it was a big game. I mean, it's like when I look back on it now, I think me and maybe 2 other people were doing all the environments, and they were like, it was like Metal Gear Solid huge. And in all honesty, it probably would have never finished, one way or the other. But what was in there was pretty grand in scope.
Now, were you guys gonna make Special Forces an arcade game?
No, it was for home. Yeah, it was made specifically for home. So at that point, Tobias and me and the Mythologies team, we were the only original home game team at that time until we quit Midway.
Cool. And then because we had Andrew Kudelka on, and I don't know if you saw that interview with Andrew.
No, I didn't see that.
He actually showed us a really cool logo for Special Forces that I think he had worked on, which looked really, really cool. And
it was just in case they were going to make an arcade version of it.
Yeah.
Was the thing. He designed like some preliminary cabinet art, because I think maybe in the beginning stages they didn't quite know where they were going to go with that game.
I don't think so. Like, I don't think that was ever considered an arcade game.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's not my recollection, because there's no way the design of it was anywhere close to an arcade game, and I don't think at that point. Like Sub-Zero, a lot of people forget it did very well. In terms of sales, it did very well, and so there was no reason for us to want to do an arcade game at that point.
Gotcha. And you worked on Tao Fang, and I believe in the credits it says you're one of the project leads. So
yeah,
did that put you up there with John Tobias? Is how much say so you had in the project?
Well, for one thing, I can never be at the same level as Tobias. He's just like, seriously, the guy is a god when it comes to video games, especially video games.
I agree.
But you know what it was that, and in some ways it was on Sub-Zero and Special Forces. I was kind of in that position where I was kind of leading a lot of the art of the game. So on Sub-Zero and Special Forces, I was leading the environment stuff. When we left Midway to form Studio Gigante, I was kind of put in that same position. So I was more or less like an art director / designer. And so John was the overall vision person, but then me and like a couple of other people, we were leading whole teams in our respective departments.
Right on. Yeah, that's
well,
awesome.
Another thing we looked at before the stream was we looked up your IMDb page.
Okay.
And it looked like you worked on a movie called The Lost Arcade.
Yeah.
So I just ordered that on DVD from a company called 26 Aries. Am I gonna like that? What's it about? I don't know anything about it. I just know you did it.
When that movie first started coming out, like I was like, all over Twitter on that thing. So it's, the long story short, it's basically it's about in an arcade in New York City's Chinatown called Chinatown Fair, and without getting too much into it, is basically it was a little arcade in New York City Chinatown that had a big following amongst the fighting game crowd, specifically the Street Fighter crowd. And so a long time ago, I want to say like 5 years ago, they were doing a Kickstarter. I discovered the Kickstarter. I remembered the arcade back when I lived in New York, so I contacted the producers of it and said, hey, I want to help out on this as much as I can. So I dropped in a ton of money to one of the executive producers, and just because I it was great. Then from there, developed a relationship with them. They've been helping me out on Insert Coin and stuff. And but that documentary really inspired me to want to do Insert Coin. Like I wanted to become an executive producer, so that way I can get information from them on how they're doing, and that kind of informed how I did my Kickstarter and then the production. It's fantastic though. It's on iTunes, I believe, and but yeah, I have the DVD also, and it's great. You guys will love it. It's such a great tribute to the arcade culture.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. So that's really interesting to see how you got connected with that, and how that sort of inspired you to insert coin.
Yeah.
So I think everybody in this chat room right now is super hyped about insert coin. Just seeing the comments, people are saying they love your vision. They can't wait to see the final product. I know you said you're about 85% complete. What do you think would be a realistic release date for it?
So right now, and I don't want, I'm afraid of saying anything because then if I pass it, then I'm screwed. So,
Right.
Yeah, at the same time, I don't want to work on it forever either. So right now, I'm looking to get a version of it done probably in the next 2 to 3 months, and that's basically would be considered releasable. After that, I'm going to nip and tuck, however much I can until final release. But that's how close I am. And eventually, it's kind of like, it's the same feeling I get with game development. Nothing ever gets done. You just got to know when to walk away from it and go on to the next thing. So that I got to get to that point. But it's getting very close. And I think people will be surprised by it. It's not just about the making of the games. It's about the people and just all the stuff that people go through when making a game, and the rise and fall of not just a company but an entire culture during the 90s. And so it's I'm hoping people really like it. I'm putting my heart and soul into it, so hopefully everything comes out great.
Well,
I'm really excited about it. And NBA Jam, the book, I think you know him. NBA Jam, the book, has a question.
Yeah.
He was wondering, what's the craziest piece of Midway history that you learned when making this documentary? That's actually a really good one.
Gosh, what was the crazy? There's so much that I can't and I'm drawing a blank right now because I didn't really think that was gonna get asked. But oh gosh, let me think about that. I'm gonna have to come back on that. it wasn't like anything was a surprise I didn't know before. It was more about like I got more context about why certain things happened. I would say one of the crazier things, and it's only in hindsight that is crazy, and we kind of, and it may or may not be in the documentary, so that's why I'll talk about it, is, you know, because Midway, especially specifically in Chicago, was so arcade oriented in their game design that they didn't think that home games would ever take over, like big home games like Tomb Raider and things like that, where you spend 40 hours playing. You know, they thought, oh man, you know, that's like reading a novel. Who wants to do that? And one of the stories is that when Tony Hawk came to Midway, specifically in San Diego, to pitch a skateboarding game, and he basically got laughed out of the building. And he was basically told that nobody would ever want to play a skateboarding game. And Tony told me that, like, yeah, his programmer friend who was pitching the game with him was so struck by how negative the people at Midway were that he basically quit developing games because he just thought that that's how bad the industry was.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go.
I'm glad he didn't give up.
Yeah,
I'm glad he went back to it later.
Yeah, no, yeah. So then he went to, you know, then he goes to Activision, and the rest is history. But it was just, you know, for me, it's a funny story because not only did I understand why that happened, just because of kind of the arrogance of the company at that time, but it's also funny in that, you know, like I made the last 4 Tony Hawk games, so the weird connection between Midway and Tony and myself was it was a nice, you know, nice.
Yeah, you happened to be at the center of all of it. You saw.
It's a good circle of life story, you know?
Yeah, you got to be there right when Midway laughed him out of the building, and you got to be there when Activision picked him up. That's like perfect.
That's awesome. And could you imagine like how cool a Tony Hawk game would be? Like if Midway did it, if like those people had done it. I mean, I don't know. It would have been an interesting. It would have been a lot different, I think.
It would have been as good as what ended up being, you know, Pro Skater series. To be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Activision knocked that out of the ballpark, man. That was another one of my favorite games, Josh. Man, it's so cool that you worked on that.
Thanks.
I didn't even know you worked on that until like way later, and I was like, holy shit! Like Josh just worked on this other game that I grew up
what
as
a
a kid.
coincidence.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've been very fortunate, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, yeah, just so much cool stuff with Insert Coin and everything else. Is there anything? Is there any super secrets in Mortal Kombat Mythologies that you may or may not know about?
The mayor, well, I mean, boy. You know, not really. I mean, I think I'm trying to think. Like it's funny, I was going through some Mythologies footage, literally like last night or the night before. And there's some cinematics that didn't make it in. There's a bunch of like little random things. You know, nothing major. There's just like, you know, I think there's a cinematic of a backstory about, oh God, what was the Rich DeVizio character?
Quan Chi.
Quan Chi?
About Quan Chi. There was a little backstory that was never, the one shot of it was done, but it never got composited, never got expanded on. But it was basically showing him this. I want to say it was showing him destroying Sub-Zero's village or something like that. I'm just trying to remember that storyline.
Would it be Scorpion's Village?
Scorpion's Village, yeah. So there was a whole cinematic around that, and I think we got one shot done of it. And I think I found the shot, and I was trying to remember, like, what the hell is this from? So I have to dig that up. There's a bunch of little things, but in general, you know, that it was such a lean game that everything that we wanted to do basically got in. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of fat to cut.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'd love to see footage of that. If you can somehow dig that up, that would be crazy.
Yeah. No,
even a screenshot would be pretty ballin'.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Get some stuff out. It took me forever to figure out how to integrate Mythologies into Insert Coin because I didn't want to just put making up stuff randomly. They had to kind of tie in with the story and the overall flow of the film. So I think I found a good way of getting it in. And so at one point we talk about the FMVs because that was such a big deal in the 90s was to have FMVs in games. And so I got those in, but almost all the footage you see in the documentary, if it makes it in, it's the pre-composited shots. So it's all the green screen stuff. So you can see what it looked like in the studio before the backgrounds got put in and everything. And that's something I loved. I mean, I'm not sure if people know it or not, but that was like I had gone to film school when I was in college. And so when I got to work on Mythologies, for me, that was a dream come true, was that Tobias trusted me to do all the FMVs. And so I got to, I got to do all the compositing, I got to do the special effects and things like that. And that was so much fun because of that. And so whenever I see the FMVs, as cheesy as they are when you look at them 20 years later, for me, it was just like, wow, that was, I got to make a movie and it got to be seen by millions of people, which was super cool, for me at that time. So it's fun to see those again.
Oh yeah.
I'll be honest, I still love those FMV scenes.
Me too. Yeah, they were probably some of the most well-done FMV scenes on the PlayStation. And what really bummed me out is the N64 didn't have the FMVs.
Yeah, the storage space. Yeah, trust me, I hated the N64 version of the game because of the FMVs. I liked them because the N64 did a better job with the texture maps. They didn't skew like the old PS1s did back in the day. Yeah. But that was a bit. But you wouldn't believe how low budget. Well, maybe you can believe how low budget the FMVs were. And at that time, Midway was used to arcade game budgets, and so I think we spent something like maybe $60,000 on all the FMVs. And I remember even back then, people were balking at that price, like saying, "Oh God, that's why are you guys being so extravagant making these movies and stuff?" And looking back, it's like that's like the price of a car.
Right.
So we've got a question here from Sargon81. In the credits from Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero, it says Richard DiVizio was Quan Chi and a bunch of monks and EFBE. Do you happen to know what EFBE stands for?
Yeah, it's every fucking buddy else. And he played like a gazillion different characters.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah, he looked like the monks that you beat up and everything. I was like, I think that's Rich. I think that's Rich. I think that's Rich.
Rich is great. I mean, he was like, he came in and he was just game for anything stuff. And, that the whole story about, Rich and all the MK guys with Tobias and stuff, it's really cool. I mean, even well before Mortal Kombat and stuff, those guys just had this relationship. And so Rich would come in and just like, I'll do anything. I'll ham it up. I'll, have some fun with it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, Rich. It should be called Mortal Kombat Mythologies Rich DiVizio.
Rich DiVizio,
you know what I mean?
I don't think John Turk would appreciate that.
Yeah, John Turk might be a little salty.
Between Rich and Sal DeVito, I think they were in the most game. They were in almost every Midway game at that time. I mean, Sal, Rich DiVizio, and Kerry Hoskins. That's like 2/3 of all of Midway's actors, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Josh, you might have seen this on the social media, but a friend of the channel, his name's Jasper, and he lives out in the Netherlands. And he showed us pictures of a gaming magazine from the 90s, a Dutch gaming magazine, with screenshots of the PC port of Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. That just blew my mind. The PC port got that far in development. Would you know anything about that?
I don't know if you mentioned, if it was you that mentioned that to me before. Somebody had mentioned that to me, and I wouldn't put it past anybody that it's real, but I don't recall any PC port ever being talked about. Now that doesn't mean that there wasn't said, because I think the PC stuff was outsourced anyway. Like the N64 version was outsourced to Avalanche out in Utah, but we worked really closely with them on it. So those Avalanche guys, they were always in contact with it, and at one point they ended up living in Chicago for a while working with us. So I remember them, but the PC version, I don't remember anything about that.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference when you look at the screenshots, whether it's PC, PlayStation, N64. The only giveaway is in the menu. It would say like press F1 to do such and such action. And it was like, oh snap. That's real. That's a real PC port.
I don't know. I personally think it's a mock-up. And
no, don't say that.
Trust me, having worked in many game studios and stuff, a lot of that stuff are made up. So I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right then.
Interesting, nonetheless, for sure.
Sure.
What does your future look like as far as after Insert Point? Are you going to be making documentaries all the time? Is your life going to be back to filmmaker, or are you going to go back into games?
Oh, geez. It's funny. I've been asked that a lot because I still have a lot of friends who are in the game development area, obviously. And honestly, I don't know. I can go either way on it. I've been enjoying making this documentary so much that a large part of me is hoping that it catches on with people, and the general public, the video game fans, it kind of like I'm hoping it becomes like a King of Kong thing where anybody can associate it, can like it and associate with it. That it'll allow me to make another film similar to this. The real challenge is that I'm so close to the material for this film that it's easy for me to really dig deep into it. And so the real challenge is that if I do another documentary, obviously it can't be something that I've been associated with again. So it has to be something interesting at the same time. And it's going to be a challenge to find a similar topic that I can really sink my teeth into. So long answer, or the short answer to all this is I'm hoping to do that it's successful, that I can easily make another film or documentary that is pop culture related, that has a great following, much like, fans of Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam and such. But it's so universal that anybody can grasp onto it. So that'd be great. If I go back into games, that's not a problem either. But I have really been enjoying this process and being able to have this much control over something I love.
Now I got a question for you, Josh. I don't know if you know of or are friends with. I think you might be. Know of Peck Pongpayat?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know Peck as well, and I know Peck has done some of the Tony Hawk stuff too. I think personally, a good documentary, just an idea, would be a documentary on the Tony Hawk games.
Well, there's somebody doing that actually.
Oh.
So yeah, there was I think, man, I don't know when they did that. It might have been 6 or 8 months ago. So it was this one guy, Ralph. Oh God, I can't remember the last name, but he used to work for Tony's company, and I worked with him when I was doing the Hawk games. And he teamed up with this guy in Europe to do a documentary about the Pro Skater series. They did it on Indiegogo. They did a crowdfunding on Indiegogo. It didn't do very well for them. But from what I know of, they're still moving forward with it. So yeah, it's that's something that I would love to do, but there are people who know that subject a lot better than I would. So I'm hoping they come out with it.
It's Ralph D'Amato.
Ralph D'Amato, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Ralph's a great guy. So Ralph had worked with Tony's company for ages, and Ralph used to work at Neversoft. He was a producer way back in the day. And so I worked with Ralph when we took over the Tony Hawk series, and Ralph was kind of the liaison between us and Tony's company.
So, Josh, do you actually have any free time to do things like play video games these days?
Yeah, it's I've been forcing myself not to just work on this film like all day and night, because if it was up to me, I would do that. But yeah, no, I've been still trying to maintain a normal life. I have a family that I have to deal with and stuff, so they have to deal with me. So yeah, games I hardly play any games lately. Only because I'm staring at old game footage like all day and night. It's the last thing I want to do. But I shouldn't say that though. I've been playing a lot of indie games lately, because a lot of them I think are much more innovative than a lot of stuff that's coming out now. And say my kids discovered Steam fairly recently, so they've been playing some really cool games. I've been kind of playing along with them.
So there goes your bank account, man.
No. So well, yeah, we've been like I love Cuphead because it just reminds me of an old school arcade game. Yes, I love that. And my kids freak out on how quickly I can learn patterns in an arcade game like that. And I told them that I was trained as a kid to play these types. But they love that game. I played Little Nightmares. There's a really cool game called Battleship Brigade that is a combination of like a match 3 game with a beat 'em up, and it's all in the style of Iron Chef, and it looks like a Japanese animation. So it's a fantastic game.
That's awesome. And Josh, I think I had mentioned this to you before in an email, and Tabmock knows obviously. I've been working really hard on making ground to find out who owns that old Midway building, the old Midway building back where Mortal Kombat was made on.
Yeah.
And I found out that WMS does not own that building anymore. That is not their property anymore. They don't know who owns it. So I've been in touch with the actual city of Chicago to see if I can get in touch with the person who does have the keys to open the doors for me, to see if I can go in and get some footage of the inside of the building. I think that would be a really cool piece of history to kind of have. And I know you said you probably wouldn't be able to go in if I could get you. But I would still love to have you. Not to put you on the spot, but I'd still love to have you go in there.
If you can get in legally somehow, I'd be more than happy to go in. I've been looking at footage of like the old pinball factory and the back area where the video game studio used to be and stuff like that, and it really brings back a lot of memories. It was it was a crazy building. I mean, it's it was just really run down stuff that had a lot of personality. And we always joke that the reason why Midway's games had its personality of this, rough, aggressive, gritty games is because we worked in such horrible conditions.
Yeah.
And I still believe that to this day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm legally going to try to get in there. That's the whole thing, is legally do things the right way. We always try to do things the right way. But if I could, I think it'd be really cool to get you. I haven't been able to reach out to Danny Pacina, but I think it'd be cool to maybe see if he wants to come back there. I don't know if Danny was actually in that building, though.
You're talking about the original one that's facing California, right?
Yeah.
When they first started shooting the first MK, that was first MK 1 and 2, that was, in that building.
Oh, we thought it was, me and Tavmak thought it was in the building that was tore down and remade. So
No, it's, wait, I'm trying to, it's one on California, not on Roscoe.
Right.
Yeah, the one that's facing California, the older building, that's where, right by the pinball factory and stuff like that. That's where all the original, Jam and MKs were made. Yeah,
because it would be cool if I could somehow get you, Danny, and then see if we could somehow finagle Andrew Kudelka and maybe John Tobias to go back into that building. That would be so cool, because I'm sure John would know exactly what everything was.
I think the key, if you can get Tobias, and Tobias comes into Chicago quite often because his son goes there, comes to college out here. Yeah, I mean, I think John, would know so much more about the building than anybody else.
I'd love to try to get John Tobias, but I mean, I'm not like as close to John as maybe like you or Danny or Andrew Kudelka, so I might have to try to work through Andrew Kudelka to see if I could maybe make that happen.
Oh, that would be cool. Even if it was just for you to get some footage for Insert Coin, that would be a good thing to get.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fun. But I know you're a busy guy and you got like 30 hours of footage and you're trying to cut it all down now, so it's probably a lot to take on for sure. But it's gonna be so awesome. I can't wait for your documentary to finish up. Can't wait for that to hit and to see it, is going to be awesome. Are you currently working on any video games at the moment, or no, not really?
No, so yeah, I'm literally taking a huge chunk of time off from doing anything, and all I'm doing is working on the film. I was for the first, after the Kickstarter, for the first year and a half, I mean, it was, I was kind of working on the film part-time. But then after a while, I started realizing I'm never going to get this done unless I spend quality time on this thing. And so kind of shifted my life around, and it was just like, I got to go all in on it. And that's how, that's how I've always been about everything. It's just like, when we started up Studio Gigante, and when it started Robomoto and things like that, it was always, my personality is always, hey, if you do something, go all in on it, be serious about it, and just get it done.
Yep.
And for a long time, I was kind of hedging my bets. I just kind of do this part-time. But then it's like, as it became bigger and bigger, and then when I was interviewing people, I started realizing that the scope of this film was big, was more, I don't want to say bigger, but it was just, it was more expanded than I thought it was going to be. That's when I realized this is all I'm going to do. Once it's done, I'll figure out what the next plan is. But it's, literally no plan B, and which may or may not be the smartest thing, but it's just the way I roll.
It's high risk, high reward, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Speaking of rewards, I think a good idea, if this thing is out on DVD, first of all, I'll be the first in line to buy a copy. But second of all, maybe arcades would be interested in having it for sale. Like Twincade is interested in the movie. He just asked a question: is it possible to screen insert coin at my arcade bar?
Oh,
That's up to you to answer that, by the way. But before you do that, Twincade is a huge thing. But before you do that, think about the fact that maybe Twincade would be interested in buying a bunch of DVDs to sell to his customers, and maybe tons of arcades would be interested in this.
Sure, no, definitely. It's the whole distribution thing. I'm actually talking to a lot of different people. I'm looking at like a lot of different strategies. But one thing that I know is super important is, I'm not gonna like manufacture like thousands of DVDs to sell at Blockbuster or not Blockbuster, or Best Buy or something like that. But it's really about like there's a lot of these specialty places that would be great for wanting to sell physical media, and so I'm definitely planning on a limited run specifically for opportunities like that. Just the last couple of years, I've gone to a few of these retro gaming expos, and not that I'm going to go touring the country selling DVDs. It's not really cost effective, but there's a ton of these stores that that are selling retro games that they'd be great partners to sell some physical media out to. And so arcades, barcades, even family fun centers and things like that. I'm definitely looking into getting some discs made specifically for those markets because I think that's like the perfect audience for it.
Oh yeah, dude, Twincade would be awesome to do like a showing of. And Josh, Twincade's not far from you. That's in Griffith, Indiana.
Okay, yeah.
That's right where I live.
Yeah, I think and also the thing, like for places like Twincade and like here in Chicago, I've been talking with Emporium and stuff. They have like giant screens and everything to do special screenings, at these places. They, definitely want to get that set up. There's a lot of different ways of doing digital distribution where, places like that can do special screenings on the projectors and just take it from there. So yeah, definitely. I'm open to a lot of different ways of getting this out there.
Yeah, man, I love Twincade. That's actually my friend Phil runs that. I believe that's probably Phil there as the Twincade name. But yeah, they're not far at all, and they've been super good to me. So,
awesome.
Anything I can do to help them out, and obviously like help promote what you're doing too. I think it'd be cool if maybe you could like bring down some of the Blu-rays and sell them, and we could have a good time and show maybe just some clips or whatever. But it'd be awesome. Good to have you, Phil. I didn't see Twincade pop in here, man. I'm so sorry. I'm like working all the back end stuff, but oh my God, it's great to have Twincade here. Awesome to have you for sure. And
very cool.
Awesome, man. So Josh, is there anything, because I know you're on a limited time, and thank you so much for kind of filling in for us last minute. You totally saved my rear. Is there anything anything special you have on the back burner that you've been keeping under your sleeve? Maybe a little hint or anything cool?
No, no. Like I said, it's just working on this film. Thank you, people like yourself that are keeping the fire burning on the on loving these games and getting the word out there. So it's super appreciated. I know that ultimately the success of a film like this or a documentary like this lies on making the fans happy. Like getting them information that they've never seen before or new context that they've never heard of before. And so I'm hoping to deliver on that. And I'll tell you, I got my biggest challenge is that I have so much material that is not literally, I think, maybe 5% of all the material I have ends up in the film, and that's still a long film. And so, I'm just trying to figure out what to do with the rest of the stuff and trying to see, hey, what can go beyond this film itself? And so that's something I'll think about more once the film is done, and see if there's a platform here that that can be used. But I'm hoping that people will like what they see, and probably in the next month or so, I'm going to be releasing a lot more information, a lot more footage. The people who've been Kickstarter backers, they've definitely been getting a lot of information on stuff that's been going in. I've been doing a lot of updates on that, but I'm hoping to get more stuff out in public, really soon.
So the Kickstarter backers are getting a lot of stuff. Obviously, you release exclusive clips for them. Now, what if somebody is late to the party and they want to become a Kickstarter backer now? Is it too late for them? Is the door closed, or can they still do it?
So that's something. So for one thing, they can go to insertcoindoc.com to get on the mailing list. And that mailing list has been growing like crazy. It's kind of amazing. So that way, once I figure out what the second round is going to be, they can get the information. So one thing that I did bring up, what's that?
Round two.
Round two, yeah, I know, yeah. So one of the things I'm still trying to figure out is if I do a second round Kickstarter, basically for finaling the film and for people who miss out the first time, or if I just do a pre-order page. So I'm kind of debating between the two. There's advantages and disadvantages either way I go on that. But one way or the other, there'll be another round where people can get in on it. And then once that's set, the thing about getting in pre-orders or another round in Kickstarter is that that's probably the last chance people will be able to purchase physical media, because at that point, distribution is I'm looking at a theatrical tour, film festivals, and then obviously go to distributors and digital distribution. So that, if people are really wanting a physical disc, that's probably going to be a last chance I could be able to do that if I go that route. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm just so heads down on finishing this film that I'm only thinking of distribution part-time right now, but I need to start thinking seriously about it.
Right on. And Josh, this will be the last question for you, and it's what I'm curious about. Is there any chance Insert Coin could end up on a platform like Netflix? That's
ultimately the hope on that. It's kind of weird because it's like, without giving too much away, it's I have one of two choices in my head, and one is blast it out to every platform out there. This includes self-distribution, Amazon, Hulu, and things like that. And that and that would be over time. It's not like all at the same time, or it just becomes a Netflix exclusive. And then they just basically take it and they run with it, which they do with a lot of things. So both things are good. It just depends on, how I'm feeling about any type of deal moving forward. I think for every filmmaker, being a Netflix exclusive is a really big deal. It just depends on the details, to be honest with you. But yeah, eventually it's going to get on all platforms. Have you guys have seen that Indie Games, the movie?
I have not.
You get a chance. It's a great documentary. But they did a really interesting thing where they made this really great documentary. They basically did this tour of theaters, got on the film festivals. They did as much of it as they can by themselves, just distributing it, and they did very well with it. And then at the end, they sold it to Netflix and Amazon and things like that. And that worked very well for them. So I've been kind of tracking that type of business model to see if that makes any sense. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for the insight on all that. That's really exciting to hear. I'd love to see it on Netflix. I think that would be really great for you.
I'd be excited about that because it comes with it definitely develops a person's a filmmaker's reputation to get on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That's definitely good news, and definitely it's worthy of being on Netflix for sure. The quality and everything looks phenomenal.
But you know what? Before we wrap everything up, I just wanted to thank you for being so active on social media and keeping everybody posted on the progress of this. Because it's not there's projects that get announced and then they just kind of sit there and everyone wonders, well, what's going on? What's happening with this? I got all hyped up and then nothing. But you keep everybody posted. You let everyone know. Guys, I just did some more interviews. I thought I was done, but I'm so glad I did more interviews. We love these status updates.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Glad. Yeah. There's, when I started doing that, I was always a bit afraid that, if I put too much information out there, it would just get people mad, and all they'll say is like, well, why isn't this done yet? And things like that. But I just, I started realizing over the years, it's like, the more people get information, they can still get pissed off if something's late if they wanted to and stuff. But chances are that when you put things in the proper context, people will understand. And I think I've been fortunate that it seems like everybody wants it to be a worthy product, a quality product, and so they're willing to wait. But so I haven't gotten a single complaint, which is really nice to see. You know, the internet is not the nicest place for
no complaining on the internet. I've never heard of such a thing.
But I guess it is because, hey, you know what, the information is there. You can choose to be mad or not, but at least you're informed, and it seems to be, to work pretty well.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, though, I wanted to show off just a couple of things at the nice place that was able to host us today. This is a really special stream for me, Josh, so I'm really, really happy that you could do this for me, and I appreciate your kindness so much. We're actually, this is the first stream I've done that's near my hometown. I haven't been to my hometown in like 10 to 15 years. It's been a long time. So to be able to come back from Chicago and to come back to like small town Tiffin / Fostoria, Ohio, where I'm at now, is just really, really cool. And these guys were so super nice at letting me set everything up here and take up some of their bar space. And they made us a nice drink here called the Molina, which Chloe has been enjoying, aka Nerdy Hobbit. Do you want to talk about what's in this drink?
I think she said it was a bit of vodka and like cranberry juice, I think.
Cranberry juice? It tastes really good. You can't even taste the alcohol in this, which is why it's really dangerous. Just like Melina. She doesn't look bad with the mask on. As soon as you take the mask off, you're in trouble.
That's what I said
there you go. Yeah.
Sneaks up on you.
It does, yeah. It's a very sneaky drink, but it tastes really good. And the bartender, Nikki, makes it really...
I have to be careful because
Yeah.
I'm very lightweight, so
Yeah.
it could hit me.
Yeah. But Nikki is the bartender here, and she's the one who came up with this drink, and it's phenomenal. And of course, we got the other gentleman here, who's I think is right now in the middle of a game. He's been great. He's the guy who actually manages High Scores here. And I don't know if we can maybe pull him away for a sec, if he wants to come on the stream, introduce himself. So, first name again is
What's
Matt.
the name of the place you're at?
This is High Scores Bar and Grill.
Yeah, High Scores Barcade and Grill.
Barcade and Grill, yes. So this is Matt. He is the guy who is responsible for pretty much running the whole operation here, right?
This is my business.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's the guy in charge, and Matt has been.
No, this is solely my business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that was my silent part.
right.
Oh.
So Matt is responsible for everything you see, like the games, the food. The food here is. Yeah, the food here is phenomenal. Like, it is worth the price of the food, and the drinks are second to none.
If you order the burgers, be prepared. They're bigger than you think they are.
They're huge, yeah. They're delicious. The food here is phenomenal, and Matt has been such a good friend for having me out here and letting me do my thing for sure. And Matt is a big fan of Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam.
All that stuff. I grew up playing games my whole entire life.
Tony Hawk, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Josh actually has done some work on Tony Hawk.
Okay, great.
So on the games, yeah, and so that's.
If you look around, like me and Tom, we still skateboard like pretty much whenever, weather permitting.
Yeah.
It's something we have a passion for just besides gaming and, just like cooking and, other types of cool stuff that we
Oh yeah, and
basically just turned into our lifestyle and / our business.
turning your passions into your dreams is something that these two guys have done. You and Tom owns Level Up, which is a game store right next to you.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that game store, if you saw my vlog from a couple days ago, is they sell used games and skateboards.
That's awesome.
So you can go get your skate on, and you guys actually make those skateboards too.
Yeah, some of the decks that we have are actually like custom to like High Scores and Level Up.
There you go. It's phenomenal. Yeah, Josh, if you get a chance on Facebook, man, you can check out my vlog. I kind of show that. But I mean, that's unique. You can get a skateboard and you can get a video game. And then you can come right next door to a barcade, get phenomenal, really good homegrown food, really good drinks. It's awesome, man.
Do you know what is in this?
Let me go look.
He's going to take a look and see what's in the Molina. But this is a really cool drink for sure. And Josh, maybe if you ever can come to Ohio sometime, we could work it out, man. You could come here. We could have some fun.
That sounds great, man.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a busy guy. You got a family and everything, so it's probably hard to get away from everything. But
They're so sick of me being at home, right?
But yeah, this place is really awesome, and definitely was fun to come out here and do a stream from the hometown.
Vodka, triple sec, lime juice, cranberry.
Oh wow!
Mash of grenadine.
Can I read that off here?
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
This is the secret formula to the Molina. It's 1 ounce of vodka, ½ ounce of triple sec. It's got sweetened lime juice, cranberry, and a splash of grenadine.
I'll remember that.
So if you know your drink, if you know your drinks, that's actually a pretty interesting concoction.
Yeah, it's not too heavy.
They also have one I had called the Jigglypuff, which is also really
The
good.
Jigglypuff. The
That's
Jigglypuff.
like literally like the thing we sell the most of.
The
Is the
Jigglypuff.
Jigglypuff?
Yeah, it's super simple to make.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Molina though.
Yeah.
I like it. It rocks. But again, Josh, thank you for coming on. It was great to be here. Matt, thanks for having me.
thank
I
you.
appreciate you. And of course, Tabmock, thanks for coming on. And Josh, thank you again for giving us all your time. I appreciate it so much, man.
Nice. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Nice seeing you.
Don't forget to hook me up with that email, and I'll get to work on that ASAP.
Sounds good.
And we'll get everything ready to rock and roll. Guys, thanks again. I'm going to wrap up the stream and call it a night. Get some sleep, guys. And thanks again for everything you guys done by coming on for the interviews and making this happen. It's been awesome.
Sounds good. Good night, everybody.
All right, I'll see you guys later. Take her easy.